Ease, Memories of Celceta, Nightmare, all bosses no damage. First boss is the Awakening Armoured Beast, Aldavos, and we start with an absolute banger, and by banging, I do not mean good. So this is Celceta, as I call it, and it is a really cool Ease game. It's one of my favourites. It's not too difficult in the grand scheme of things, but it is by no means a slouch on Nightmare, especially at the beginning. This game front-ends its difficulty with this initial fight, and the real problem is if you don't know much about the series, they want you to be a certain level when you do things in Ease games. So if you try to grind your way to being a much higher level than the boss, it's probably going to take you 200 years, and I think the only boss that it's worth doing that to, you can't, because it caps out your level cap and you can never be as strong as you would like to be to kind of circumnavigate some of the terrible design. So what happens is, you will usually go into a fight under-leveled from what the boss is, and your damage will be reduced, and it will feel like you are just in the fight for 200 years. And it leaves you with a choice. The choice is to commit to the fight, learn it, play it well, and eventually come out on top. Or you can level up and make it so that it is a bit more of an even battle. Of course, you can use items and stuff and all the other things in the series that can help you out, but that's not what this is about, this series. This series is about getting in there, using the fundamentals, and coming out on top. And there's a few things you're going to see in this. The main reason why this is so difficult is this boss does insane damage, and you do no damage to him, and he has insane HP. And that maneuver right there, when he drops the rocks from the sky, the rocks themselves are quite RNG, so you have to really kite it in a certain way to not get clipped by it, and the amount of times I got to that phase and got hit was astronomical. Because sadly this fight took a few hours. But the main components of how you're going to be engaging here is going to be implementing Flash Guard and Flash Move. And if you're new to the Ease series, if you maybe picked up the most recent one, in that game, in Ease 10, you can hold the block button and you can be completely safe for most of the game. And that's not how it works here. And if you come into this game with that, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. So flash guarding here involves pressing the button and getting the glow on your character. If you get hit during that glowing effect on yourself, you will do the guard, you will get iframes, and then every attack you get for the next few moments will be a critical hit as well. And that's how the game works. Wait for that attack, press that button, and then capitalize afterwards. It also gives you the opportunity to do flash move, which is instead of pressing guard, you press evade. And what happens with flash move is that you get a slow motion effect similar to games like Bayonetta, which will enable you to move quicker and then have this interesting window to punish. However, you've got to be careful in these early games, because the Ease games before this one, before Ease 7, they were based around different systems. This is when we got the flash systems implemented, and I think this was the second iteration of it coming after, because it's a remake of one of the old games, two of the old games, I think, if you look into the history. So in this game, it's a little rougher. If you've played E7, it's a similar effect. E7 is an incredibly hard game, far harder than this one. But this game has inherited some of that brutal DNA. So when you use Flash Guard, you are invincible afterwards. And only in rare instances where a hitbox is like egregiously active and active for a long time, will you ever come out of the invincibility into an attack and take the damage. However, when you flash move, there are instances in this game where you get the iframes of the dodge, but then you don't get any iframe extension, it feels like. So if you were ever doing a flash move and you go into attack and all of a sudden you get hit or you take huge damage, that's why. And this leads to your two defensive maneuvers being an interesting utility choice. And you'll notice something that's happening in these videos that I'm doing that combines them. So the Flash Guard gives you iframes, gives you the crit, whereas Flash Move gives you much smaller iframes and it gives you the speed boost and the slow motion. And depending on what kind of move you're coming up against is going to dictate which one you want to use, or if you choose to use either or either. You know, it is up to you and how you want to play. And this is going to be a pretty good example of it here, because those two defensive mechanisms are what's going to build your extra meter so you can do your super. It's what's going to bring back your SP so you continue to cycle through your skills or use the skill that works the best for you. And bringing it all together makes the combat what it is. And you can combine flash move and flash guard. And to do it is quite simple. And if you play a lot of the other Ys games, there are combinations where you go from flash guard to flash move, and ones where you do the reverse. In this one, flash guard to flash move is safer and it's easier. And what happens is you get the invincibility of the dodge, and then you get the slow motion of the guard, and then you get the slow motion of the dodge. And sometimes the slow motion can extend certain parts of a fight to give you a bit of a bigger window to attack. But if you notice, sometimes when you're doing it, there'll be moments where you don't do the crits. And I don't know if it's an intended mechanic, I don't know if it's the side effects of these two things overlapping, but if you want to always guarantee crits, only flash guard. If you don't mind and you like the utility of both, feel free to experiment with certain circumstances that help. And the reason I'm going to talk about the stacking of the moves and the guard, stacking flashes, which is what we'll call it moving forward, is it gives you interesting setups that can recycle itself. So every time you're using your abilities, you're building resources, and the more you can use these abilities, the better it is for you, and the safer it is when you're in these fights. So if you go up against a monster that has a super active move, if you do a flash guard into a flash move away, and then you jump back towards them using stun raid, for instance, and the moment you recover, you dodge away, you will still be invincible, yet you'll be able to refresh your flash move. And in these circumstances, it seems really tricky to get flash guard and flash move again, but oftentimes just mashing dodge to recover out of your attack will immediately give you another flash move. And you're going to see this in some of these fights where I will engage a boss, do an attack, and as I dodge away, I'll trigger the flash move, and then I'll jump back in and then trigger the flash move again, and I will loop this repeatedly, bringing back my resources, dealing damage, and doing everything I can to get rid of the boss. And it's something that you'll notice by accident, just of it happening, and then you can start to try and weaponize it. And it's very similar to a mechanism that was in E7, which I only really stumbled upon towards the end of that game. And it involves the iframes of flash guard in E7, where when you do a guard in that game, you are invincible and you can't do flash moves in that game. It's something that came a bit later on. So what you do instead is you flash guard on an active move, you do an attack, and the moment your attack registers damage, you press guard again, and you reset the flash guard while you're in iframes, while you're dealing damage. And if you get good at that, you can use any move where you normally have to keep pressing flash guard to stay invincible, to do invincibility attack, and keep chaining that. And it's really finicky at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and that is some of the more advanced strategies in that game. Whereas in this game, it definitely seems like combining the stacking flashes and understanding when it's best to use which one is really, really important too. And then the final mechanic you're going to see here, guys, is you see the stun bar below his HP, the blue bar? That blue bar, if it's active in a fight, is your best friend. You want to do everything you can to guarantee that that's going up, because when you stun a boss, you get to do great damage to it, and if you use your extra move, in that moment, you will do insane damage. And a lot of fights on Nightmare will revolve around you stacking the stun bar and then killing them when they are stunned. And one of the ways you can do it is, of course, you can stun them, start to attack them, spend all of your SP, and then use your extra, because while your extra is going, it will freeze the game while the animation is playing, and they will stay stunned in that state, and as you are doing your extra, you will be recollecting your SP as you attack them. And if you do it correctly on some bosses, they just die. In this fight, you'll notice this fight is really long compared to the other ones. It's because I made a mistake. And I just rolled with it. I could have re-recorded it and got a much quicker fight, which is probably going to be a bit more beneficial to you guys. And the idea is simple. Never ever use your extra on a boss outside of stun that can be stunned, because you're just wasting it. And I brain farted during this fight, and I spent my extra. I either spent it or I didn't have it, one of the two. And it meant that I couldn't get him on the cycle I would normally get him. So instead I had to just kind of do it the old-fashioned way. And this is actually the second time I've no damage memories of Celceta. If you remember back when I got into the series with Ease 8 and I made the videos, I made a full no damage on Inferno run through of the whole game, and I really fell in love with Ease from that game. It's my favourite one. But at the time, when I put it on YouTube, it didn't do so hot, and it's always a little bit demotivating. Behind the scenes, I was playing as much Ease as I could. So I no damaged Ease 8 twice, I had a really good time doing it. Then I went to Ease 7, and I no damaged that, and I made the videos for it, and then I put that up on YouTube, and again, it didn't really do so hot because Ease is kind of niche, and maybe the videos weren't that great. So when I got to Memories of Celceta, I went through it, and I was no damaging it, but I was doing it almost for practice, because I was a little bit burned out on the idea of putting it on YouTube and no one really caring. And it's quite ironic now, because at that point, the channel was way healthier than it is right now, and yet I'm persisting anyway, because I do this for me, I don't really do it for anything else. There's no real need to at this moment in time, which is just neither here nor there. This right here is not a good idea. I can't even tell you why I did that, but, frustration. So when I first went through this game and I no damaged it, I was so sharp because I've been playing Ease the whole time that I managed to do it quite easily. I found the stages more difficult than the bosses in many areas. There are a couple of bosses that are going to stand out, and this game does have my least favourite fight in the history of Ease. I think it's the worst boss they've ever made, but it's only for the no damage idea. As a boss, conceptually and just like thematically, I think it's fine, but to take no damage in it, it's really bullshit. So I no damaged the whole game, and I didn't record it, but what I did is I left saves before every single fight in the game, so that if I came back I could do it effortlessly. And then we skip a couple of years later, Ease 9 comes out, really had a good time with it, even though I didn't think it was as good as 8. Did the no damage video on YouTube, which you either saw or you didn't, and then skip a few more years later, Ease 10 comes out, and I'm really excited for it, and I don't like it. I beat the game. I just don't understand how they can have changed it so much in a direction I just do not think is Ease, and I do not like Ease 10, and it made me really sad. So in order to rekindle what I appreciate about these games, the reaction, the strategy, the spacing, the precise timing, I went back to this, and I decided to finally record it, and that's what this run went on to become. 99% of this run I got quite quickly because I'd done it before, and to make it a bit more interesting, the first time I no damaged it, I was swapping between characters to have the better affinities. I didn't do it in this one. In this one, I will control Adol and Adol alone. I will still have my team sometimes active. It's not like it's completely solo, but I will not be swapping to somebody who does more damage or has a better setup for bosses, even though there are absolutely scenarios where that is what you should be doing if you want to have a better chance of surviving. So this will just be pure Adol the whole time through, just to make it a bit more interesting for myself. And most of the run was easy. And then you hit the final boss. And the final boss is just, I can't even begin. We're going to get there in no time at all, and we'll talk then, but that fight, the psychology and just the morale to do it takes so long, because it's 2 fights in a row with no checkpoint, and at any moment you can literally get bullshitted, and it's just so frustrating. And to give you an idea of how crazy it was, I think it took like 2 months of me not wanting to do it to finally get down to being like, I'm going to do it, and then I did it. The fight after it, where you take on, is it Spirit Garuda, whatever he's called, that cool fight on the volcano? That fight took me 3 attempts, because it's a skillful fight, and, when you warmed up on Ease, you're pretty good. That's the contrast between random bullshit and awful detection and terrible hitboxes, and just an absolute clusterfuck, and then something that's fun. And it's the same with something like this. This boss here is never going to break the bank on difficulty. He hits hard and everything, but mostly his attacks aren't too bad. And if you can get him to keep looping the spin here that the speedrunners use to fly through the ceiling, you can put him down super quickly, and you don't even have to remember him, This is not a fight that's really going to take you too long, and my favourite moves are the moves you've seen me doing. I do Stun Raid, and then I do the uppercut move, which I've got bound to square. It costs 10 SP, and if you just need to keep spamming it, it's so good for continuous damage. The reason I use Stun Raid so much is because it hits multiple times and it builds stun really well. Those 2 moves are as good as it gets. There's also a move towards the end, which is the equivalent of the Force Edge, which is this flaming move that's really good against the Obelisk the final boss has. But other than that, those two moves will carry you through the game if you want to keep it simple. And this is an interesting fight as well. So one of the things I really like, this is an active hitbox by the way as well, that one. If I were to have dodged away and then attacked in and dodged away, I would have been able to keep repeating that a couple times and got more damage. Moves like this can be really, really tricky in these games because it's hard to judge the depth and it's hard to judge when they're going to touch you. And it's one of the elements that come from the older games, the shmup elements, and it's one of the elements I like the most. And that's the thing that I really adore about this game and about the earlier games. I love how spacing is important. Like this fight here, you can stay on his side like this and just cut him down like a tree while watching out for these projectiles. The reason I'm running away from them is because they're hard to parry. You know, you can totally do it if you want to. It's just the amount of times I thought I'd get it and I didn't. And the timing in this game is tight. If you come from East 10 to this game, you are going to get demolished with the precision that's required on the parry. It's unbelievable. And it was really helpful to give me faith in the series, because ease is not about holding block. It's about, if you want to block, you have to have good timing. And it's not to say that it's the hardest thing in the world, but it takes skill. There it is there, Rising Edge. That's the other move I use. It's fast, it's easy to spam, it's really, really good. But the importance of movement in these games is so good, and it's one of the things I love the most. So you'll notice there are times when I stand in front of the boss, and there are times when I do everything I can to get away from it. And in this game, dodging is not the same as it is in Ys 8, where you can spam it and you can get the cancels and it comes out really quickly. In this game, there's a very particular rhythm of pressing dodge, where you do it at the right time and you get maximum distance and maximum speed, and it's really fun to get better at that timing. And knowing when to move and when to stay is what's going to keep you alive. And certain moves, dodging them is really, really fun. Other moves, parrying and staying in the pocket is what you want to do. And at this moment in time, I've got my team turned off. They're not attacking, you'll notice. Sometimes your team can be so distracting, it can be really difficult to understand what's happening. And it's also really tricky telling sometimes if you've taken damage, because it looks like it when your team get hit. And that can cause confusion, but early on, I didn't really use them too much because a lot of the fights could be controlled. Later on, when some fights have got a ton of HP and they're hard to stun, then the team will definitely be coming in and kicking ass. Like Elveron here. This is an interesting boss, this. He looks pretty great. But he also, his animations seem to do this weird cancel when he's moving his position. And the idea is you break his forelegs and then he goes down. And then you beat him up a bit and then he comes back up and you do it again. The issue with this fight is he's a tanky boy and he has two phases. And some of the phases are quite difficult to parry and difficult to get through. Or this move right here, whenever you get the flash move, you can pretty much do the stun raid and take out all four of his legs. And if you can get all the legs down, you can start doing real damage. One of the mercies in this game is that there aren't that many bosses with 3 HP bars. I think that perhaps this fight should have only had 1, but, you know, they were doing what they were doing. And that right there is a really good piece of advice if you've not discovered it yet. Whenever you want to use your extra, always flash guard first and then do it, and it will guarantee all of the moves are crits. And this here is interesting too. You can stand in front of his core and parry these moves. However, if you don't want to do the timing, you can back away and then you can jump back in, and it's relatively safe. And that way you do not have to have the best timing on this fight in order to stay in the pocket. And either way is going to be successful. If you're going for speed, you want to stay in there. But if you're going for safety, you want to back away. And I love that you can do that. You know, some of the later games, it does seem like the strategy for every fight is just flash guard and flash move. And I know that people got a little bit upset with that. And that's one of the reasons why the team are trying to continually develop where the combat goes and change the systems. I just think what they decided to do in the new one is not it. And they're making a revised version, which I'm quite excited for, just to see what they do. I would love them to go in and fix some of the things that I was really disappointed with. But I get the feeling that they're really not going to. Because a lot of the things that I didn't like were quite fundamental, you know, and they're not going to go in and change that. It's like Razor's Edge, you know. Ninja Gaiden 3 is a pretty crappy game with a ton of problems that, in spite of hating it for a decade, I've kind of grown to enjoy it now in a weird Stockholm Syndrome kind of way. Razor's Edge goes in there and does everything it can to make it a better game, and in many ways, for many people, it succeeded. Whereas for me, I hate that game. I hate that game more than 3. because there's nothing about it that I personally enjoy. It bores me to tears, and that's what I'm afraid of when it comes to Ys 10. I know that in Japan, the game got quite harsh criticism from the fans. People were not happy about a lot of things, and it'll be interesting to see what the devs do, because I don't think they should change the entire vision just because I don't like something they did. I don't think that's the point, but I definitely think that game could have done with a little bit more than what it got. And this is the second phase here. So he gets all flamey now, and depending on the pattern, depends on how easy this is. If he gives you the good moves to dodge, you can get rid of him real quick. Like, that one's not too bad, and then from that you can come in and do a ton of damage. But when he does the flame stuff's kind of tricky, and it's just the detection. Some of the hitboxes in this game are gigantic. They're gigantic, and it just feels like bullshit when you get hit by them. Some of them linger, some of them don't, and let's face it, the hitboxes not being one-to-one is not really that big of a deal, because in many ways it helps you. Your entire job in this game is to make sure when a hitbox touches you that you are flash guarding or flash moving. And the bigger those boxes are, the easier it is for you to do it. And I think the pinnacle of Ys design is when the bosses have those shmup phases, where it's just pure unadulterated bullet hell. And in the early games, they were pretty interesting. Like, if you look at the final boss, Dark Fact, his bullet hell phase was insane, wasn't it? And those bullets were quite easy to see. When you do the bullet hell phases in Ys 7 and Ys 8 and Ys 9, they're not as easy to see, because the design on the bullets are kind of ambiguous, and the colour schemes aren't always the best for contrast. So sometimes you just feel like it's super difficult to do anything with it, and you get hit by stuff all the time. But do you know the thing that makes it work, and the thing that binds it all together, is the flash system. Because you don't need to see all the bullets. You don't need to dodge all the bullets. You just need to dodge one. And this is what makes the game really unique. If you can get that flash guard or that flash move on one of those rounds, you can then do your damage, go up to another bullet, and then flash guard that while you are invincible with no risk. And you can effectively daisy chain the bullets into damage states that hurt the boss, and you can keep it stunned the whole time in invincibility and crit just by doing that. And that's what makes those fights so good, once you realise that you can turn your enemy into your friend. And that's the kind of stuff that I was really excited for in the new game. And it turned into more of like a Kingdom Hearts game than anything else, I felt. But a very strange game nonetheless. And you can see, can't you, just how much longer this fight has taken, because I'm using the spacing here. And you might watch this and you might think, well, Chris, why aren't you parrying everything? Why aren't you just going in and doing what you did on the other bosses? Normally I would do that. You know, my first no damage run, that's what I did. But it's like anything else, isn't it? You know, the more you do something, the more you start seeking other things. You know, it loses its edge. You know, you become tolerant of whatever it originally is. So getting in there and flash dodging everything used to be super exciting and all I wanted to do. But now, because this boss gives me the opportunity to use movement, I have a lot of fun doing this. And if you think about it, this is exactly how you fight bosses in Ys Origins. In Oath in Felghana, you use your positioning to move around them and then you punish them. And I really like that even in this game, with the flash system, you can still maintain that old school mentality and get in there and do damage. And of course, if you're looking for any kind of speedrun or any kind of quick kill, this is not it, coach, at all. But if you just want to fight and engage and use movement and feel responsive and fast and, you know, hit those cornerstones of what makes Ys with the precision, the speed, and the precise timing, like, this is as good as it gets, you know. And this is one of those bosses that I don't really remember too much, but when I fight him and I realise that you can do it, it makes me happy. And sometimes I think fighting a boss in your own way, even though I'm not to say that I invented this way or anything, I'm sure lots of people fight this boss like that, but being able to do something that's different to the norm is really cool. And then this is the first boss I despise. So this is terrible in so many ways. This is Krell Amicia. He's one of the Guardian of the Storms. I love how he looks, and I love the idea of this. And you know how I said that I like the bullet hell aspects? Well, this is one of those moments where the bullet hell aspects kind of betray you. So the boss is very simple. You break each of these statues that have a preposterous amount of HP, and when they're all broken, you win, effectively. But the whole time this is happening, you're being bombarded by attacks that are quite difficult to see and quite difficult to dodge. And some of them, like this one, are not too bad after a little bit of practice. You can get that down, it's not a huge deal. However, some of them, like this one here, that one's not too bad. It's the double lasers that he does. Not this one, this rotational one's not too bad. He does this kind of streaking vertical laser. And that's one of those where sometimes it just gets you. And it's super frustrating because you have to be on the whole time. And the problem with these videos is when you watch this, it's going to look easy. It's going to look absolutely simple. And it's not. It's not even close to simple. This is a super frustrating boss. You'll notice there's no audio here from the game. And if there is, it'll be the song for the boss that I've put on the video. This is the hard move right now, guys, but I killed him before he did it. That move right there can be a run ender because it can be so tricky because the hitbox is fiddly. That is such a harder fight than it looks like. But I was actually listening to a podcast at that moment in time, and I'd set my mixer up incorrectly, so the podcast got recorded on OBS, which I'm really disappointed about, but I did not want to re-record it because I hate that fight so much. To give you an idea of how bad that was, the next 3 fights all had the podcast on them, and instead of doing the same with the music swap, I re-recorded them. That's to give you an idea of how much I don't mind this fight and how much I hate that last fight. Like, just the idea of doing that again, no thank you. Whereas this guy, technically the same opponent, but in a different phase. I really like this fight because there's a lot going on. He has a bunch of moves that he never does. And when he does them, it's really scary. But the idea here is he has 2 arms, right? 2 arms that have really easy telegraphs. However, if you break them both, he then goes into a mode where his moves are harder to dodge and harder to guard. So my strategy is to attack him, but don't break both the arms. Kill one of the arms, so he keeps doing the rotation, and then when he gets his other arm back, kill the other one. And then hopefully he won't hit you with any of the trickier stuff. And this move right here is by far one of the hardest moves to dodge, just because the balls that fire out as he does it are so random. Sometimes they will miss you by normal, by default. Other times they will be all over you and there will be 9 exploding in your face. And it really is one of those encounters where it can be super easy and you won't ever remember it. Like, you can just move out the side of that, which is really nice. Again, a boss that combines, you can use the flash systems or you can use your movement. And I love that about Memories of Celceta. You know, I see a lot of shit about this game when I saw a lot of people critiquing it, saying that because it came from a handheld it wasn't as good. I think this game is super underrated. And admittedly, it has my least favourite boss in the series, and it has my least favourite dungeon in the series, but other than that, there's a lot going on here, and I wish we had way more of these games, I do. I would have loved them to remake the first, 6 games in this engine. Like, if they remade Origins in this engine, I would love it. Same with Oath in Felghana, same with Ark of Napishtim, you know. You name it, I would have been all over it, because I really, really like that. This boss is tricky though, it has a second phase and no checkpoint. This one took a couple of attempts, but luckily, he's quite fair. So this dude here, the guy from the end of Halo 3, he does laser shots, then he chases you with the spin, and then after this he does, is it one final thing where he does the laser beam? He does a beam at you and it tells you that it's the end of his cycle. This is it here. So what you want to do is you want to dodge towards him towards the end of it, but don't go too close too quickly because it's active as hell and you can run into the side of it like I did. Additionally, do not overstay your welcome here. You can actually one-cycle him if you're really aggressive, but I tried to do it and I got hit like an idiot, so this time I decided not to do that and I got out. But as you can see, we were close then to killing him, and the only difference is she kills him, which I was not going to mess with him whatsoever, but I'm glad she did. And a piece of advice for you as well, guys, is if you don't like the chaos of your entire team attacking at once, there is a toggle to turn them on and off. So what I like to do is I like to make them passive where they just dodge when I'm fighting, and as soon as I stun a boss, I turn them on. And then as I'm attacking, they'll attack as well, and you can consolidate your damage, and it can be really, really good. Now, this is one of my favourite bosses in the game. This is really interesting, because again, you can use mobility to completely circumvent a lot of the things this boss does. And what he wants to do is he wants to push you away. And when he pushes you away, all of his attacks get more dangerous. However, if you come really close to him, you can shut him down completely. And this move here, if you block that move, you can get close to him on recovery like that. See that? If you do that, you will be way safer than if he pushes you completely back. And it will bite you in the ass if you get knocked back sometimes, but I got quite lucky in this fight. And again, this is another fight that was re-recorded. This is not the first time I killed him coming back. That's the most dangerous move right there. So the first fireball is hard to judge the depth and the distance, and then it spreads into fireballs that chase you. If you can dodge and parry that move, you are a fucking Memories of Celceta player, because it's as difficult as it gets. And then here it goes. So this is the second worst boss fight in the game. This is colossal dog shit of the highest caliber, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I despise this. This was by far the most attempts, second to the final boss. And it really shouldn't be like this. In my opinion, the ads should not keep spawning. There's no fucking reason for it. Like, there just isn't. And the problem here is they attack through him. So you can be completely blind of an enemy because you can't see them because he's so big, and you'll just get hit by them sticking their tongue through his body. And he can do the same thing. So the whole fight is trying not to get attacked by something you didn't see. And it just leads to an absolute nightmare. Look at this. It's just not even close to good. It really isn't. I can't even give you any tips either, guys, if you're trying to do this. It's just frustrating. And it shouldn't be, because the fight would be fine if it was just the big gangbang and then they went away and then it was you and him. But his tongue is active when he does the grab from behind. So he can be completely facing the wrong way. If you're attacking his back and he does it, he will grab you. And it's just that the hitboxes here are nightmarish. Like, the difficulty's called Nightmare, and this is exactly what they had in mind. And it's just crazy how much can go wrong and how quickly a good run can die. And stunning him to then cash in just never happens. You kill him before you stun him, which is the only mercy they afforded you, but fuck that fight. I do not like that. And then this is another fight that I had to re-record as well. Mustrum, the Deformed Nightmare. This was the fight that taught me about really abusing the active hitboxes. So if you watch here, guys, see this? I don't know if we've seen this too much up to this point, but this is where it really comes in handy. This enemy has like a miasma that he releases when you're close to him, and it's really hard to read it and parry it. However, once you get the eye for it, you can chain it to do tons of damage to him. And like stuff like this, watch this. That one cannot be done in that. I wasn't deep enough. I think you can get 2 flash guards off that if you do it right, but in that particular moment I didn't. And again, this is another second phase fight, where once we slay this form, it turns into something different, and the second form's a little bit random. Sometimes he can be really easy because he gives you good patterns, other times he just acts like an absolute arse clown. But that's the miasma from a distance. Kind of interesting move, really. And I think he summons spores and tries to eat them, but you really don't have to worry, as long as you get his attention. There we go, we got it. But sadly, I couldn't chain it anymore. You can only get 2 on that. Maybe 3 if you do it a little bit better, but this is the one you want. If you can get this, you can really stay in here and just do a ton of damage to him. If you're worried about my equipment as well, or you're wondering, I should say, I don't know why you would be worried. My equipment in these games is the same thing as my equipment in Yakuza games. When I first play a Yakuza game, the only thing I want to know is where is Tiger Drop and where are the bloody bindings. That was my playstyle for all of those games. In these games, I am always looking for damage. Doesn't matter what it is. Give me damage. Additionally, I want anything that makes SP cost less. That is always a fun one to equip. But other than that, other than like Ease 8, where you get those really cool attachments like the Berserk Mask and everything, I don't really have anything too particular. I will always favour attack. I don't wear anything for defense, but it doesn't really matter because we're not getting hit. Ooh, this move. This move is really easy to get hit. Be very careful. He will eventually stop, and then when he does stop, you've got an opportunity to fuck him up, and that's when you want to use your extra move if you can. But look how long it lasts. And my team are just getting bodied. Usually, If you do this right, you'll kill him. And if your team are attacking, he'll go down even faster, because you see how it freezes the stun bar? This is why you want to use all your SP, then use your extra move, then cash in all the SP you've just earned to do most damage in those moments. It is so useful, guys. It will make these fights much more fun, because you know as soon as you stun them, you win. And here we go. Here comes the big guy, good old Gaddis, the sadistic beast tamer. So there are two parts of this fight that I despise. However, I do like this boss. I think this boss looks cool, I like his character, and I do like beating him up. But at any moment, he can summon adds, and I just hate that. I always have, I always will. He can summon 3, like, I don't even know what they are, shadowy wolves or something? 3 shadow wolves he summons. And they're a nightmare, but you can use them to get some of your resources back, so it's not the worst. And then when you get him down to low HP, he starts doing a move that I'm not even certain you can avoid it. It's really, really bad, and it's this right now. So the idea here is you want to parry this, and then you want to chain invincibility off it. Because the problem with it is the whole time he's shooting this, do you see those fireballs that are rotating around the outside areas? When I first blocked this, I ran in to try and flank him and hit him from behind and get some damage, and I took damage from these swirling orbs. And then I parried it again, and it happened again, and it happened a bunch of times. So instead, I decided to just chain invincibility to make sure that I don't trade with anything. And this is really good practice for learning how to do this, and this technique will work in E7. Maybe. Whereas you wouldn't do it like this, you would just spam flash guard. But the idea is the same. It will also work in Ease 8 and in Ease 9. So using invincibility from the flash moves to then guarantee your next invincibility is a concept you want to be very familiar with, because it will make you a better player, and it will make you a more successful player too. And if your team can stay alive here, they can do so much damage, it's great. By the way, guys, if you notice any moments where I'm going a little bit quiet, it's because I'm actively doing things while I'm muted instead of just stopping the recording and doing them. My editor is having problems with this footage playing it seamlessly, so I'm having to do this commentary outside of it. And I can go in and trim that stuff away, but it's going to throw off the pacing of the video, so instead just know every time I go a little quiet, it's because I am muting myself to cough because my throat is terrible, or I'm drinking water because my throat is trash. And it's one of the problems with doing what I do. And anyhow, here is the other guy's companion. This is a kind of tricky fight, this one. I wouldn't say it's all that difficult, it's just learning to understand what to do is kind of challenging. And some of these moves are nuts too. They're super active. And her grab can be a big pain in the ass as well. And it's a similar concept. There are 3 bosses in this game that do the same thing the last boss did. She does it, and is he called Eldeal, the angel guy in the tower? He does it as well. And it's like a revenge move by a Kingdom Hearts boss. When you do enough damage to them, they do this move where you have to interrupt it. Even though in Kingdom Hearts I don't think you can interrupt them because the cutscenes, aren't they? And when she starts doing it, we have to shut her down. If we don't shut her down, dodging that move is very difficult. It can be done though, but you don't want to dodge because you want to make sure she never does it. It's just like anything else. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. But the chakrams that she throws are really good for looping iframes because they're super active, but they chase you for a decent amount of time, so be very careful when they come back. You are never safe with this thing when it's on screen. Same with her flames. Her flames have a really, really long and active hit. This is it right now. If you stun her here, she'll stop doing this. So watch the stun meter. Sadly, I have to stun her using my extra move, which is not ideal, but it gets the job done, so that's okay. If you can stun her without needing to use your special, when you stun her, the special will kill her. But in this particular attempt, it didn't play that way. And again, she's another one that summons ads, but these ads I don't mind because they're super weak. So you can just take them down really quickly. Like my buddy there killed them on his own. I didn't even have to mess. And then we use Stun Raid, and we've won. And it doesn't look like much, does it? But don't be demoralized, folks, if you play this and you're struggling and you're using items and you're using everything and you're getting your ass beat. I have a lot of experience in ease games, playing them in this particular method, and you get brutalized for a long time until it goes right. Do you know another thing that's interesting about this game? This game can run at 500 FPS. I was testing it on the final boss to see if the frame rate affected the damage. It doesn't, but it would be nice if it did. Because I was trying to find any way to kill that final boss, dude. I hate that fight. You can't even imagine how much I despise it. But this is the boss we saw previously. This is the proper fight against them, and there's a little bit more of an extension here. So it's the same as the first fight. However, when you attack the legs and you break them, they fall down onto all fours, and then you have to break the arms. If you do this correctly, you can chain the knockdowns, and it's really, really quite simple. However, if they line up certain attacks, they can be really hard to dodge. There's a lot going on in this one, and if you win quickly, you don't see it. And because the stun raid has such a radius on it, this move you can just stand behind it and break his legs. Breaking his legs interrupts his telegraphs. So if there's a move you cannot dodge, save one of the limbs until he starts doing it, and then attack it, and you will cancel what he's doing, and he'll have to fall down. So again, you can use this to just guarantee he's never doing anything you can't deal with. And that's one of the reasons I love this fight, because you can use strategy to shut him down. You know, you can intentionally not do that, and it makes it considerably more difficult, but it's nice that it exists, and I'm all for ease being creative. And here is Bullet Hell, the fight. So Eldeal is a random bugger, and depending on what element he chooses, will depend on how difficult this is. And he has 3 elements. He has fire, he has wind, and is it lightning that he has? If he does fire, you'll probably be okay. Fire is the one where you can get the fireball and then use it to try and beat him up. But what we really want is we want his melee stuff. We want this. We want his nameless king slashers. If you can get him to repeatedly do this, you will have an easy fight, and the only thing you'll have to worry about is when he does his big desperation move and you have to interrupt him. I think I get it twice, and I think the second one he does it. And I get lucky with the dodge and it enables me to kill him. It doesn't always go that way, but thankfully it did. Though what you do not want to see is when he starts messing around with the wind. The wind one is by far the worst, because you can barely see the tornadoes, and this is it here. I'm just going to use my ultimate because I want nothing to do with this move. It makes me invincible, and what will happen is it will force him to go into his desperation moment, because his life is getting lower. But look at this. There's lasers everywhere, there's tornadoes everywhere, it's fast, it's crazy. It's not ideal. And he went back to his melee moves then, which was nice, so he managed to get away with it. But again, guys, you don't have to use your ultimate. You can just try and wing it, but this is where things get kind of dangerous. So again, you have to stun him, so spam stun raid here as much as you can. We should stun him right there, but sadly I don't have any SP because I was using it all to put him down, so we don't really get a chance to do too much damage. So we go back into the melee. And again, this is me just showing you, when anything is active, you can use flash move to loop the shit out of it and get tons more damage. It's really cool. And the whole time you're doing this, you're building SP, you know, you're building up your extra bar, and here's the second one. So I don't have any SP, and right there he does the move, and this is when it starts happening. So looking at that move, it's not all that bad. The problem with it is, usually when I do this fight, he doesn't do it. So I don't really know that move very well. I've never had to dodge it before. I just kind of went on instinct then, and I got lucky. And I suppose it's like anything else, isn't it? If I studied this boss a bit further, I would know more about it, but a good attempt, you don't see that. And then you get to the Colossuses, which I really like. Every one of these bosses looks really cool and has a different gimmick. This one here is really interesting. If you notice there, guys, he's spinning around, but I'm not getting hit. The only thing that hits you here is when he slams his arms down if you stay close. So my strategy is stay on him, parry the slam, and then if he does the spin, all you have to do is hold forward and use your rising edge. He will never hit you as long as you are pointing towards him. And it's a kind of interesting way of doing this. And I also think this guy looks a little bit like the Emerald Weapon from Final Fantasy VII, so it's another thing that I like about him. One of the things I always love about Ys is when you get towards the end of the stories, there's always some kind of eldritch, ancient, unknown deity that's governing some kind of strange destiny and apocalypse. And you always get into the realms of these spiritual places, and you fight these machines or these contraptions of these creatures beyond our reckoning and beyond our understanding. And I always find that kind of gimmick to be really cool. And this game and this series in general does a really good job of it. So when you come up against these just machines, the design on them is really cool. And it oftentimes doesn't lead to the most interesting gameplay. Sometimes they're just like whack-a-moles with cool designs. But I feel like these ones they complement each other quite well. So this is Zerivuts, the silver variant of the Colossi. I can't remember which one this is. Is this the guy with all the crazy blasts? Yeah, this is the bullet hell guy. So look how hard those bullets are to see. This is a really tricky one just because visibility's bad. But this one here, if you can get that first dodge, this guy's dead. Because you can chain... This is a very active move. It is really long. And you can do all you need here to guarantee that you are getting back your SP and making sure you do damage. And right there, Bushka, we get more SP back. We go back in. We're so close to the stun here. We get this stun, he should die. So I'm going to spend some SP, go for the super. Our entire team are attacking right now. One thing you can do if you're struggling, guys, is put on your allies that do the most damage to the boss. I wasn't doing that in any of the fights here. You don't really need to, but it is something if you're struggling. And this is not an easy game, guys. That's the thing. These videos are the times where it went right. These are not the times it went wrong, and it went wrong a lot. Maybe not against the Colossus, because these guys are fine. But that frog guy, that Acritia or whatever he was called at the start, that guy, absolute nightmare. And then the boss coming up, the final boss, I can't even begin. Like, some of the things I was willing to do on that fight to do it, like, I tried leveling everybody to max level to see if I did tons of damage and I could just shit on him and it would be an effortless fight, and it didn't work. It didn't even change anything. You know, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I grinded killing enemies to increase the damage on one of those capes to see if that made a difference. It didn't do anything. You know, I tried being low HP as well. Low HP in ease games, I rarely ever have to do that, but in this game, there's a piece of equipment that means when you're low HP, you get back your extra meter, and if you put it on your teammates, it gives it back to you, which is really good. And then there's another ability where when you're low HP, it gives you back your SP, so your SP's constantly ticking up. I even squeezed those two things to kill the final boss this time. You know what's funny? The last time I did it, I didn't do that. I just grit my teeth and grinded it because I was in a super ease mood, but sadly, I knew how bad it was coming back in and how much I really didn't like it. And sometimes when you inherit that kind of fatigue, you just don't want to do it. And the worst thing with any kind of challenge run, if you're not in the mood for it, you will not do it. You have to be in the right mood, and you have to wield that mood correctly and get it done. And I was actually in a Ninja Gaiden mood because I'm currently doing a challenge run for Ninja Gaiden Black. And it's a really brutal one too, so I wasn't in an ease mood, but my hand got forced and thus I tried it. But here he is, the main event, the final boss, the fiend of causality or whatever that said. So what you want to do at the start here, guys, is you want to run over to one of these different altars and you want to use your extra on it. I like to get rid of the green one. The green one is one of the easier ones to dodge, but it's also one of the biggest bullies. So be very, very careful. And the idea is each one of these different coloured breakables is a different move that the boss can do. And every time you break one, the ones that remain get more powerful. The moves get worse. And my original strategy involved getting rid of the yellow one, then the green one, then the red one, because the red one is the easiest one. However, in the end, I found a really good way of dodging the yellow one, and I didn't know about it before, and it just involves standing in front of it until it fires at you, and then you move to the side and it misses every time. So that became really handy. These obelisks that fall down, they have a crazy active hitbox and they chase you the whole time. It's really bad. And then this is where it gets dog shit. I mean, that bit's dog shit too, but it's doable. This bit is irredeemable dog shit, because what happens is he's going to constantly spam this giant falling hitbox on these stupid obelisks, and then eventually he's going to draw you in. However, it's all happening independently, so when he draws you in, you can have 3 obelisks crashing down around you, and it becomes almost completely unavoidable. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. This pattern here, it does take good timing to do it, because the parry is not the easiest thing. And I found, you notice how I'm moving away from the boss to parry him? If you stay close, the timing's different, and it fucks you up. So I always do move, walk out, parry, get back in. And because this is so lucky, this fight, sometimes he never does this where he draws you in and you can do damage. Sometimes he will spam every other move for like 2 minutes. And other times, he'll do this 2 times in a row and he's easy. But it's completely random. So right now, all the obelisks will fall down and you have to survive another suck-in. If you get a bad RNG on the next part of this fight, you insta-lose. It's just trash. And then you have to do the entire first phase again, which is not the easiest thing to do, especially no damage. But right here, if you get lucky, and I try to kill the obelisks by doing that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But he just keeps spamming. And he doesn't have many moves. He has his slashers that do the electricity orbs, and then he just has the laughing, and then he has the pull you in. But like, look at this garbage. It's just so... I hate this fight. I really do. It's just so unnecessary too. He's really tanky. He has seemingly no weakness. I just don't get it. And there should be a checkpoint. If there was a checkpoint between the 2 phases, I would have no problem here at all. I still wouldn't like it because I think it's fundamentally dog shit. And there we go. That's funny too. You know when it says learn skill and it focuses on somebody you're not playing as? You know when you come back and you get hit because something was active when that was happening? There is nothing more frustrating than that, and the game does it all the time. But right here, if I can build my extra, I can win. What I don't want is having to do the draw in, attack him 3 times. If you have to do it 3 times, you have to play so perfectly, you're going to be nervous, and the chance of getting hit by an obelisk is just going to be through the roof, because as the boss gets weaker, he gets more dangerous, and the obelisks get more intentional, and it just becomes more chaotic. And like, look at this. Luckily, this movement... you are mostly safe here. The only way you can get hit is when the ones in front of you come down. And right now, we got super lucky then, because none of the obelisks were inside of his draw range. If they were, that might have been a rip run, and this could have all been lost. But I would be lying if I didn't say there are a few bosses I have killed no damage that I hate more than this one. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is pretty much... Memories of Celceta no damage, and now we get to do the victory lap, which is the final boss, which is this fella, Phantom Gruder, and this is one of the best fights in the game because it's just you and him, and there's no bullshit. I actually killed this boss 3 times trying to get a cool recording, because he has a move where he grabs you, and you can guard it, but it's awkward to time. And the first time I tried to guard it, it didn't work, and I used my extra ability to just be invincible, and it worked. So I replayed it until I could get the guard, and luckily for me, it was the next attempt. So here we go. All I do here is I bait his dashing away slash, so that this one here, so that I can get the parry on it, and then I beat the shit out of him, and eventually he'll go for the grab, and all you do is you either use your extra move or you parry it and you fuck him up. Look at the damage I'm going to do this guy, by the way. If you could do this damage to the final boss, you would not hear me bitching. This is the grab. Right there. One of the cooler grabs, or one of the cooler animations to guard in the whole game. Because if you don't guard that, you die. He does a super on you. It's really cool. And again, finish him with the ultimate just to style on him a little bit. But look how cool this fight is. It's a proper fight. Whereas that other thing, dude... Oh my god, it was enough to give you grey hairs. You just get so salty the whole time. And I'm going to put the other fight in as well. So this is the other one, because... This was my first victory, technically. And as you can see, the strategy is the same. Wait for him to do the dash, and then come in here and do some slashes on him. He does it again, you can rinse him again. And this is just a strategy for... If you're struggling with the guard timing, save your super, and as soon as you see him go for you, right there, you'll just hit him, and he'll die. And that's the end of Memories of Celceta, guys. an amazing ease game that I think is quite overlooked. Check it out at your own discretion, and thank you for watching. You take care now.